Okay, I started a new stream. Let's see if it works now. I hope so. I don't know if any notifications have gone out or if anyone can even hear me because I've got no sound, but I'm seeing a notification now for it. But apparently there's nobody in it. Ooh, is anybody here? Let's find out. We're back. It's the remix. Sorry that I suck at live streaming, you know? What? Is this not happening right now? Is this... Oh, okay. Is everyone back? Is it doing better? It did get very laggy, unfortunately. So I am redoing it. I'm starting again. Hopefully it's better. Hey, can you guys hear me now? I don't know how far you guys made it in. Please let me know how long it went on in that fic, because last I heard, I have like another window open trying to like keep an eye on how far deep I am. I don't think you heard the end of the last fic, right? Which is a real shame because it's very cute. I hopefully the lag isn't so bad this time. I was a bit mean and asked my partner to get off the internet because they're downstairs. We're just like watching something, but they were like, yeah, no, it's fine. They're very gracious, and we're like, oh, it's fine. I'm just gonna play on the Switch, not be on the internet. Hopefully that will improve the internet. Okay, apparently it's still a bit laggy. I am sorry about that. Wow, maybe the BT guys who keep coming to my house and being like, do you want the fiber optics? And I go, I cannot afford the fiber optics. Maybe they will convince me next time that I should in fact actually be staying up to date. I don't know. I think they're probably smarter than me, you know? Ooh, let's not like make you guys hear me checking via my phone to see if this is working. I'm sorry, this isn't the easiest thing, but I'm trying to make it work. Okay, I think it really is. I read the summary on the last one, right? Is that how far it went? Did you get any further than the summary? Should we try that again? Should we just read the whole fic again? Maybe we should just read it all again. Okay, I'm going to do that. I think the lag is really bad. I don't know how much is normal because when I listen to it, obviously, I'm really far behind myself. But I don't know how bad it is for you guys. So I'm going to try reading the second fic again. Because when I went to check on the previous video, it seemed like that it was just not there at all, really. I don't know. So I'm going to try again. And someone said I didn't get that far in it. So I'm going to try that. Let's do it again. We're bringing it back. Tangled right where I want to be. Hitoshi's a great lad. Him and Izuku are so cute. Do you guys ship Shindeku? I ship it a lot. I didn't think I did, to be fair, before, and now I think I really ship it, which it's stealth got me. To be fair, I also really ship Denki and Shinzo, so I don't know. I have problems. I feel like, okay, here's the thing. I feel like I ship Denki and Shinzo because they remind me so much of Mike and Aizawa, and like I feel like the dynamic's the same, and I'm like, oh well, yeah, of course they'd be together because, you know, like Mike and Aizawa are obviously canon, and then I remember that I guess they're technically not canon. I mean, they're canonically good pals, I guess, but I feel like, I don't know, are they canonically married? I feel like they should be. Someone get on that. If there's a petition, I'll sign it because I feel like they should be stealth married. I love that. There is a fic that I could maybe read about the kids finding out that Aizawa is like stealth married, because I think that's really cute. So we'll see how far we get into this, but I will start this fic again. So, Tangled Right where I want to be. Written by Shiny Crash. Summary. When the barista finally calls for him, Hitoshi thanks her and picks up the order. He's just a few steps out of the shop when his phone rings with a new message. Izuku, 8:32. I made a terrible mistake. Shit. Hitoshi's face drops. Hitoshi is stupidly happy. The kind of euphoria that puts a skip in your step and makes you greet strangers on the street. Or, more specifically, the kind that makes you leave your house at 8 in the morning to get coffee and breakfast for the boys sleeping in your bed. Hitoshi can't remember the last time he willingly woke up so early, but the only edible things in his kitchen right now are dry crackers, a banana, and cat food. And he can't have Izuku starving the first time he sleeps over at his place. He's got to make a good impression. Plus, he's pathologically addicted to the smile that blooms on his pretty face when he eats pastries for breakfast. Hitoshi has seen it a few times, barging into his office for a report first thing in the morning. So, fuck sleep. Izuku is getting whatever he wants. When the barista finally calls for him, Hitoshi thanks her and picks up the order. He's just a few steps out of the shop when his phone pings with a new message. Izuku, 8:32. I made a terrible mistake. Shit. Hitoshi's face drops. There's not much context to that text, but everything seemed great when they woke up, legs still tangled under the sheets. He peppered kisses on Izuku's neck, and Izuku hummed, sleepily but pleased. He turned around to play with Hitoshi's hair and told him it smelled good. He looked happy, didn't he? Okay, deep breaths. Hitoshi doesn't want the panic to settle under his skin. Not yet. You. 8:34. What's wrong? His feet are made of lead, but he tries to walk as fast as he can without spilling the coffee, hoping Izuku didn't just leave. If he's still home, Hitoshi probably didn't fuck up that bad, and they can at least talk about it. Izuku, 8:35. Can you come back, please? You, 8:35. I'll be there in 5. Hitoshi actually runs. He unlocks the door, toes off his shoes, and doesn't even bother putting them away properly. Well, away properly. Izuku, he calls into the kitchen. Sorry, he's so worried. Sorry, poor Hitoshi is stressed out. He unlocks the door, toes off his shoes, and doesn't even bother putting them away properly. Izuku! He calls into the kitchen, still with his jacket on. He can't see him anywhere, but there's an "over here" coming from the training room. Now, actually worried, Hitoshi pushes the door open and what he sees is nowhere near the dozens of possibilities his mind entertained. Not even close. Izuku is on the floor, trapped in a bundle of limbs by Hitoshi's capture weapon, face down and wearing a shirt he must have snatched from one of the drawers. His eyes seem to actually water when he spots Hitoshi. I think I need help. Izuku, please. And Hitoshi really, really tries not to laugh. So, bondage, huh? He fails. This isn't funny, Toshi. Let me out, Izuku says, struggling against the bindings which tighten even more in the process. It makes him look like a kitten stuck in a ball of yarn. And Hitoshi is fighting fits of laughter and bursts of cute aggression with all of his strength. I know. I'm sorry. It's just, how did you end up like this? I got curious, Izuku whines. I was laying over there. It was laying over there, and I figured I'd kill some time by trying it out. I didn't think I'd get stuck. Hitoshi sits cross-legged next to him, pulling Izuku's body upright so he can start untangling him. Izuku's cheeks are red from embarrassment. A few curls stick to his forehead with sweat, no doubt from the exertion of trying to free himself. He looks so adorable. Hitoshi wants to eat him up. Same. Isn't Izuku just so bloody cute? Sorry, I need to stop getting distracted by how adorable Izuku is. I just love this ship so much. He pulls the binding cloth with ease, expert with endless months of training, and Izuku sighs in relief, sagging against Hitoshi's chest and resting his head against his shoulder. God, I feel so dumb. I really fell into it like a newbie. I put it around my neck like you and Aizawa do, and I thought I'd gotten the hang of it when I managed to wrap it around my own arm, 'cause, well, there was no one else here to capture, right? I don't think that was right. Sorry. Should I do that again? Okay. God, I feel so dumb. I really fell into it like a newbie. I put it around my neck like you and Aizawa do, and I really thought I'd gotten the hang of it when I managed to wrap it around my own arm, 'cause there was no one else to capture here, right? He gesticulates a lot when he speaks, and Hitoshi follows the movements of his hands just as he usually fixates on the way his lips move, avid for every drop of knowledge about his quirks and habits. But then my arm was stuck, and the more I tried to take it off, the more it tightened around my body, and I sat on the floor and I tried to use my foot, and then I couldn't move anymore. He turns to face Hitoshi, and it's sickening, really, how pathetically obsessed Hitoshi is with him. Izuku might as well be the one with the brainwashing quack. Hitoshi kisses him, sweet, sucking his bottom lip in a way that makes Izuku's body tense up in his arms. His toes curl from the heat. When they part, he brings the binding cloth in front of Izuku and speaks into his ear, his voice low and steady. When you throw it, you gotta make sure your arms stay out of the way. Like this. Hitoshi aims for the training bench, and the binding cloth wraps neatly around it. Oh, I see. Izuku follows the explanation with interest, watching how Hitoshi retrieves the weapon and tries it again. If you pull it around them, or let it drop down your torso. Jeez. I can speak. If you put it around them, or let it drop down your torso, it will tighten on you. It's not easy though, so it's really not your fault that you got stuck, he says, and he really means it. Doesn't matter how much you've studied someone else's movements, it won't work properly until you try it out for yourself. Hitoshi learned the hard way. You're amazing, you know? Hitoshi shrugs off the compliment. He can't help it. It's a knee-jerk reaction that doesn't go away no matter how many times Izuku does it. You should have seen me the first times Aizawa Sensei was patient, but I get stuck like you at least twice a day. Izuku grabs Hitoshi's face in his hands and forces him to look directly into his beautiful eyes. That doesn't change the fact that you learned eventually, and that takes an incredible amount of skill. Hitoshi scoffs, but kisses the palm of his left hand. You learned how to use 7 different quirks, and you're telling me about skill. Don't deflect! Izuku shoves him playfully. I'm praising you. Praise me all you want, but don't complain if I tap... It's so cute. Oh, sorry. Hit the mic. Praise me all you want, but don't complain if I trap you again in retaliation, Hitoshi replies, laying on the floor and dragging Izuku on top of him. Izuku straddles him like their bodies were always meant to fit, and Hitoshi chases the feeling of his skin tingling everywhere they touch, putting his hand underneath Izuku's stolen shirt. Maybe I should... Sorry, my heart. Maybe I should do it anyway. You looked good all wrapped up for me. Hitoshi! Izuku blushes furiously, and Hitoshi takes the chance to flip them and lay down on the wooden floor. One of Izuku's legs wraps around his hips to keep him there, as if Hitoshi had any mind to leave. Sweet little thing. He mouths along Izuku's collarbone, drinking up the noises he makes like he could get drunk on it. Wanna go back to bed? Izuku whispers, rubbing his cheek against Hitoshi's unshaven face, and Hitoshi is so fucking gone for him that touch alone is enough to set off sparks of electricity underneath his skin. All that trouble to go get breakfast, and now it's going to be cold by the time they're done. Oh well. Hitoshi can't really bring himself to care. Sorry, I'm looking at the Chat, now that I finished that fic, wasn't that fic so bloody adorable? Like, I actually want to cry. I love these two. They're so adorable. Okay, apparently the lag isn't so bad this time. I don't know if it was restarting it. I don't know if it was my partner getting off the internet as well. Hopefully it isn't too bad for people. Here's your favourite rings. Please read it. They really should be 100%. I love Eraser Mike. I ship them so much. It's so common in fics now that, like, it's canon. It's canon. It's just happening in my brain. I don't know how to, like, not think of them as being together. Like, I feel like they're just in love. But in that, like, I don't know, maybe it's just because they're perfect, like Grumpy Sunshine, and, like, Aizawa just seems so done with, like, everything and everyone, even Mike, but, like, he just has so much more lenience for Mike, and I just, I love them. I do love a good they hate everyone but me trope. Listen, I know, like, realistically in, like, your actual life that isn't really that healthy as a relationship dynamic, but, like, I kind of love it. Okay, sorry, but real quick, I wanted to say this from before. I honestly think that canonically Aizawa is some form of asexual spectrum, but that is my personal opinion. You know what? I can see that. I mean, I can very much see him, like, being, like, ace and, like, homo-romantic or biromantic. I don't know. I can see him, like, very, like, emotionally loving, like, Mike and being in a relationship with him, but, like, not really feeling sexual attraction. I can see that. Oh, I haven't really thought about it. Now I'm gonna have to, like, go search for asexual Aizawa fics. If you have any, please send them to me. I want to read them because I'm ready to jump into this mental way of life. I think it's what the people deserve. By the people, I mean me. I deserve everything. Give me all the things. I think that would fit really well too. Okay, so let's do another fic. Oh, I think this one's pretty angsty, guys. If you like Bakadaku, this. Oh, sorry. I'm reading the chat. Recently read a fic where All Might was ace, and I thought that would fit as well. Honestly, I kind of see that for him. I love All Might. Don't let me turn this into fucking Ella talks about bloody All Might for 6 hours, because I will. I can go into heavy detail, and I will go into heavy detail at any point. Like, you know those, like, posts that'd be like, what is one topic that you could give a 40-minute presentation on, like, at a drop of a hat, no preparation? And I could give you a presentation on why All Might is a sweet baby angel and perfect, and, like, honestly one of the most kind and genuine people in the world, and that I hate Aizawa bashing. I hate All Might bashing. I don't mind a bit of Aizawa bashing, to be honest. We can talk about that. I know people, it's controversial. People love Aizawa and they love to All Might bash, but I hate All Might bashing. It makes me so sad because All Might is just, like, he's just such a sweet boy. Like, he cares so much about, like, everyone, and it makes me sad because he just kind of has this really detached life, I guess, of, like, not ever really getting to be a person and always, like, having to be this symbol, and nobody really ever thinks about the fact that, like, All Might grew up quirkless too, and so, like, he was probably also bullied, like, his whole childhood, just like Izuku, and he also was, like, the quirkless kid who really wants to be a hero and nobody thinks he can do it, and then he meets Nana and Nana gives him the quirk, and, like, listen, I could go into in defense of All Might telling Izuku that he can't be a hero without a quirk. I do think, controversial opinion, I don't think realistically in the universe, the canon universe that we have, that Izuku being a hero without a quirk is feasible. I love reading quirkless Izuku fics. I love reading, like, quirkless vigilante Izuku fics. I mean, I fucking love Viridian. Should I read Viridian? Should I podfic Viridian? A very good question. I'd love to. I mean, I'm still doing Mastermind, obviously. And I love quirkless Izuku in Mastermind is just, like, fucking everybody's shit up as, like, this great evil villain. But I just don't think canon Izuku, especially, could do that, and how canon works. I mean, oh, man, I feel so bad for All Might because, like, we have this thing with, like, Izuku and, like, I think it is in, like, episode 1 when they're like, oh, you're applying for UA, and, like, how can you even get into UA? And he's like, oh, they changed that rule. And, like, so UA did have a rule about not having quirkless applicants, and it's clearly not well enough known that it's been repealed for this to be like a thing. And there is, like Izuku says himself, that there is no precedent for a quirkless hero. Like, that's just not a thing that's ever been a thing, and I don't know if it would happen. Like, it makes me sad to think that All Might, like, if this is it as it seems, and, like, in the context to be, like, a fairly new rule, then All Might as a kid would have grown up knowing that he couldn't even apply to UA, and that breaks my heart. And people always give him such flack for, like, telling Izuku he can't become a hero, whereas All Might grew up, like, being quirkless, being told that being a hero is literally impossible for you. You just can't do it. Like, you can't even get into a hero course to do it, which is so fucking sad. And then, like, people will be like, okay, I'm getting off on a tangent, this is so autistic of me, I'm sorry, I can't stop talking about it. You guys are too far behind to tell me to shut up, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, because oh my, like, he gets, like, a lot of flack for this. Like, you gave this quirk to, like, a child who is, like, 15 and doesn't know anything about it, and, like, gave them no information. I'm like, that's what happened to All Might. All Might was also a child. It, like, he went to UA at a normal time, so he must have been, like, at oldest 15 when he got One For All, and he also, like, never had a quirk before that, and he had almost no time with Nana, really, before she, like, was murdered, so he wasn't really ever taught by someone, and he was just lucky enough that, like, he just got, like, One For All, like, really fast, and, like, is naturally really gifted at it. But, like, also Izuku's, like, a bloody chosen one, and so, you know, it's meant to be how it's meant to be, and he gave him his quirk, and everything's good that way. And All Might is a sweet baby angel, and I just feel really bad for him because it feels like he doesn't have any friends, and I want him to have friends. I love him and Namasa's friendship. I think him and Tsukashi just are best boys. You know what, I kind of am down for this, like, asexual All Might AU headcanon. That's the word I'm thinking of. I'd be down for that. I do also like a good All Might and Tsukashi fic. I do think they're cute. I think they're a cute couple. I like them specifically as, like, background relationship, like, dads, because I think that's just the vibe. There's some, like, ships that I'm like, okay, I like this, I ship this, and I think you two work together, but I don't want to read a fic about you because I just, like, you can be a background fic, like, character, like, I can, like, enjoy seeing you in the background having your relationship, but I don't want to read a fic about you. I feel that way about Bakukiri. I think Bakugo and Kirishima work really well together. I totally think they would work together, but I just I don't want to read a fic about them. Okay, I need to stop talking. This is just, I'm going on such a tangent, and I'm probably talking way too fast because I know that I do that because my brain works really fast. But also agreed, Todoroki is a mermaid is a great username. Don't ever change it. Anyway, enough of my tangent, and we're going to get on to the next fic so I can, like, shut up. Well, I'm not going to shut up, I'm going to keep talking, but I'm not going to keep saying my words. But no, if you ever need me to give you a presentation on why All Might is the best and deserves the fucking world, I'll give it to you. I'm ready to give it at any point, any minute of every day. I'm ready to give it to you. I've vaguely hint posted about it in one of the outros of one of my other fics, but I did write an All Might fanfic like a week ago, and I put it on AO3. I don't know whether or not I'm going to podfic it. I don't know. One, it feels a little bit weird to podfic my own work, which I know other people do, and I listen to other people's podfics of their own works, and I think they're great, but I just feel like I feel really awkward about it because I don't know if I think it's that good. But I needed someone to say the things that were going on inside my brain, so I did that. So, I don't know. If people like it, I might do it. If people want me to read it, I might do it. But anyway, let's get on to the fic so I can shut the fuck up about All Might. God, I wish I was the only one. Written by XX Bush XX. I'm going to link all these like fics later for you so you can go click on them. Don't worry about it. You and me, we made a vow. Izuku and Katsuki's life had always been intertwined. Since the moment they were born, God, how desperate Izuku ached to know his entire life would be tinted with Katsuki. Ka-chan, let's be hero partners and stay together forever, Izuku whispered as to Katsuki in the dead of night, a few weeks into their last year. Both boys laid on the roof staring at each other's eyes. Katsuki never looked more beautiful to Izuku, blonde hair gently caressed by the soft breeze that blew. Ruby eyes widened in shock at Izuku's feverish demand. Katsuki smiled through something rough, never soft. The boy was jagged in pieces that Izuku held like treasure, a mosaic of sharp edges that captivated him. Partners in everything, Deku, Katsuki responded back by grabbing Izuku's hand and bringing it to his lips. I guessed even the sharpest glass could be worn soft if wheeled gently. Weld? Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the trap. I can't believe you let me down, Katsuki. Ka-chan. Heart. Nerd, I'll be home late tonight. Ka-chan. Heart. I got a lot of paperwork to catch up on. Deku. Okay, Ka-chan. Is this where we ooh-oo? Ooh-oo. Ooh-oo. I'll leave the door unlocked. Good night. Love you. Heart. I don't know how to use these hearts, but you can see them. Scene at 8:53 p.m. Izuku turned his phone over with shaking hands. His eyes burnt with unshed tears as his chest felt heavy. Kami, he could practically taste the lie in his mouth. He had done all of Katsuki's paperwork earlier that day, during his shift at their agency. He wanted to surprise Katsuki and make him supper, but now his chest heaved as he tried so desperately to get himself together. I don't know why I can't read this. You know what? Maybe it's the italics. They're really throwing me. Okay, I'm gonna start this paragraph again because this is where, like, if I was at home and able to do it, I would just restart the whole fic. Because I'm very picky about this stuff. Anyway, Izuku turned his phone over with shaking hands. His eyes burned with unshed tears as his chest felt heavy. Kami, he could practically taste the lie in his mouth. He'd done all of Katsuki's paperwork earlier that day during his shift at their agency. He wanted to surprise Katsuki and make him supper. But now his chest heaved as he tried so desperately to hold himself together. He didn't want his thinking to be true, but the proof in the way it hurts. Ka-chan, heart. Late night again. Ka-chan, heart. Don't wait up. Ka-chan, heart. Gonna catch up with E tonight. Don't wait up. Ka-chan, heart. Going to E's. Ka-chan, heart. Paperwork. I wish this would be over now. Kachan, heart. Deku, I'm fucking busy. Stop calling me. Kachan, heart. You're not my mother. Stop asking me. Kachan. God, Deku, I told you I have paperwork. Kachan. Sorry, busy. Kachan. Ease place. Kachan. Leave the door unlocked. He was so tired of begging for a drop of Katsuki's love, pleading for mercy on his breaking heart. He could have been so stupid. How could he have been so stupid to think why is this? Ow. I just yanked myself out of the thing. I don't know why italics are so difficult to read. Please, someone save me. He was so tired of begging for a drop of Katsuki's love, pleading for mercy on his breaking heart. How could he have been so stupid to think that he would ever be the only one? That Katsuki, a bright supernova destined for greatness, would ever look at him and think, damn, this is the love of my life. Izuku wished that he had imagined the fall of them, wished he could pretend he trusted Katsuki and believed him. Oh god, why is my thingy not working? Okay, my mouse is just fucked. I know I'm not the only one. Deku, where the fuck are you leaving? Katsuki bellowed as he watched his boyfriend pack everything he owned into boxes. Izuku couldn't even be bothered to cry anymore. His tears had finally run dry, and he was finally done. I'm done, Katsuki, Izuku said, as he grabbed a box and walked out of their shared bathroom into the living room, where 2 more boxes sat and waited. What the fuck do you mean, nerd? Huh? You think you could just walk away from me? Katsuki scoffed as he took in the scene before him. Izuku leaving. What a joke. He'd been chasing after Katsuki his whole life. He was nothing without Katsuki. Watch me, Izuku said, as he stood up straighter and tilted his head back slightly, his eyes glowing a toxic green as he looked into Katsuki's eyes. So you're walking away from us? Katsuki yelled into Izuku's face, finally realizing that Izuku was dead set on walking out of their apartment and never looking back. Finally, Izuku snapped. Months of lying, and Katsuki had the nerve to suggest that they were together. Izuku had bared all the pain of Katsuki's unfaithfulness with a grin, but fuck it. My heart. I have loved you for many years, but maybe I'm just not good enough, he said, as he picked up the boxes and started walking to the door. Baby, what you and I have is completely different to me and E, okay? Katsuki tried to reassure, as if that would fix the pieces of Izuku's heart that he had held and crushed in his hand. You've been so unavailable. Now, sadly, I know why. I know, Katsuki, was all Izuku could respond back when he walked out the door. He knew he would never compare to Ejiro. He would never have Katsuki's heart the way that he did. Ejiro owned Katsuki's heart since the start, and Izuku had... why am I struggling so much with this? Maybe it's also emotional. Let's get in them. Okay. We're fine. We're bringing this back emotionally. I know, Katsuki, was all Izuku could respond back as he walked out the door. He knew he would never compare to Ejiro. He would never have Katsuki's heart the way he did. Ejiro owned Katsuki's heart since the start, and Izuku had been a dreaming fool for ever thinking he had a chance of beating him. Nothing more than a demand? Oh, I can fucking read. Nothing more than a damned fool for giving his entire heart to a man who would never even treasure it and keep it safe for him. Your heart is unattainable, even though Lord knows you kept mine. Why was this one so hard? I'm really sorry. Ugh. I'm also seeing... Ooh, the chat we're seeing some good. Oh, nope. Fic Rex. Let's do that. Okay, you're going to see me do this because it's in a tab. But I'm going to... Oh, here we go. Oh, okay. Is it on AO3? I assume so. Bookmarking this for later. I wish we could get better background for all my... I also wish we could get better background for all my... Sorry that the Bakudeku here was pretty sad. And it kind of wasn't great from me reading perspective. The actual fic is very cute. Well, it's not cute. It's kind of emotionally devastating. Which, relatable, because Izuku really beats through it. I don't know. I love Bakudeku and like I love fics about it, but I do feel like they would be toxic. I feel like you really have to write Bakugo quite well for me to like think that they'd be a healthy couple. But listen, like I know they're not a like couple in this one, but if you haven't read Viridian, the Bakugo redemption arc in that's what I'm looking for. It's honestly, it's kind of hard for me even in like the anime now to like be like Bakugo's been redeemed, because I feel like they haven't really done that. I don't know who's reading the manga, and if you're up to date or not, but in the manga, you know, I feel like Horikoshi's decided that we're over the Bakugo situation and like it's all good. He's all forgiven. He's not a bully anymore. But I'm like, he told Izuku to kill himself. Like, that's really fucked up. And like, it's just, I feel like a lot of people just like to, in fics, I see a lot, because they just kind of don't want to work on like actually giving Bakugo a redemption arc. They just will like, I don't know, basically put it all on, oh, well, it was his parents and it's his teachers because they never told him it was wrong, which I feel like is a bit of a cop-out, because I feel like there's no way he doesn't know that beating other kids up is wrong. Like, I don't know about that. Like, I feel like you probably knew it was wrong, Bakugo, but like you just kind of thought you were above rules, which I think obviously the school and his parents definitely have a big part of that. I think it's kind of, he's a kid, so like, you know, obviously I'm not gonna like be like he's irredeemable, but I feel like you kind of have to do quite a bit to make me understand why he's kind of such a dick. I'm gonna drink some water again because I'm really thirsty. I really hope you cannot hear me drinking, because that would be embarrassing. Hopefully the lag's better. It's giving generational trauma. I see that you guys, for me, you'll realise when you get to this point, you guys, I guess it's really far behind because I've just gotten to, you guys are just starting to hear my All Might rant, I guess. Sorry about that. I should really shut up. Oh, okay. Jessie Rose is back. Hi, welcome back. So I think he would be fine. I'm vaguely trying to guess what like some of the comments are in relation to, because obviously that was a while ago for me. I read a whole fic since then, and it'll be interesting seeing you guys' comments on how bad I read that last fic. I'm sorry, that one was really rough. Hopefully this one will go better. Okay, Our Resident Ice Pack or Furnace, written by Argentina. Summary. Shoto's quirk has always been a wonder, a perfect split between two parents, an immaculate combination of hot and cold, in which Class 1A uses Shoto as a water bottle cooler, Shoto uses his left side to soothe Katsuki's hand after he overuses his quirk, Shoto serves as Hitoshi's ice pack when he gets a headache. This is what I love. Ooh. I honestly did not know this was a series. Oh, wow. I'm dumb. This is like a series, but yeah. Apparently you didn't need to know that. Not completely necessary to understand the fic. Context for those of you who are new to the series. Shinzo, Hitoshi, Katsuki, and Eri are the adopted children of Aizawa and Hisashi. That's kind of cute. Kind of love that for them. Shoto's quirk has always been a wonder. A perfect split between two parents. An immaculate combination of hot and cold. Although both halves of him are drastically different, they are both still extremely useful, and in different circumstances as well. He doesn't really feel the effects of heat exhaustion or frostbite himself, because his body is able to regulate those sorts of temperature differences for him. He finds that other people, however, really do not have the same abilities as he does. Surprisingly enough, it was a little weird to see his entire class sprawled across the field, trying to catch their breaths after a sprint, when he's feeling entirely alright himself. Why didn't you guys have some water or something? Shoto asks, not really knowing what else to say. Water always helps, right? It's extremely sunny today. They must be dehydrated. Sorry, I'm seeing your... am I gonna, actually, have to, talk more about All Might? Though, to be fair, All Might grew up when being quirkless is a lot more common. To be fair, we don't know how common it is. We don't really know how old All Might is. But, I mean, if there's 7 generations of users since, All For One's brother, and I know they didn't all live long, but, there's a few lifetimes in there for it to dwindle down from it being when he was there when he first got a quirk. I'm assuming kind of the flip side when it first kind of started and it was the early kind of percentages to now, and I think he's closer to Izuku than he is to All For One. So numbers wise, I don't think it would have been much higher than 30, maybe 40%. I think it was still probably pretty bad for him. I know that we don't have a lot about what it was like for All Might growing up. I would love to be able to learn more about that, but I don't think it would have been good, because even in the early days of quirks happening, bitches were fighting. It was all out war. They were actually getting into it. And so either way, and we know that mutant type quirks are still treated really badly. So it seems like it's bad kind of quite discrimination seems to have been a thing for a while, and obviously we don't know too much about All Might's growing up, but the few hints that we get about him and his time being quirkless, it definitely doesn't seem like it was a fun time for him either, and it just makes me sad. Aizawa fights quirkless when he gets up against mutant type with support gear and years of fighting experience. Okay, which I think is fair, and this is obviously something that gets pulled up a lot. It's oh well, especially in fics, it'd be Aizawa basically fights quirkless in situations, so he can make the other person fight quirkless too. And I don't think obviously I feel there's some fights that you could win whilst quirkless. I don't think that's impossible or anything, but I think for day-to-day hero work, for you to gain popularity, which you kind of need to have in hero society to get anywhere, is you need to be popular enough. You also need to be able to get approved by the Hero Commission, which them guys are bitches. I don't think they would be maybe see, I don't know if Nezu has that kind of sway that he can just give people ensure somebody has a license, because it is kind of unfortunately learning more and more throughout the thing that heroism becomes more and more about branding, and I just don't think they'd let him do it. I've read a lot of fics like that actually, where Izuku gets into UA quirkless and the Hero Commission are no, you can't do that. We said you could change the rule, but that's not really a thing. And again, All Might literally probably could not apply to the school, which makes me really sad. Okay, I need to stop going on All Might tangents. He's just my sweet baby boy. He just needs help. In the entrance exam and sports festival, items are they allowed for entrance exam? As far as I've seen, they're only allowed in support course if you built them yourself, which I don't know. So okay, I've got another fic rec in the comments, so I'm gonna save that before I lose it, because why is this just like so bad? You're gonna see a fic rec up. Thanks for recommending fics to me. I will always take fic recs, because they bloody hell, I will always take them. They're always helpful. I love it. Okay, we'll keep that. This is the fic we're going on. I'm going to get back to fic reading and not just reading the comments and talking about All Might, because it's a problem, because I talk too much about All Might anyway. Why don't you guys have some water or something? Shoto asks, not really knowing what else to say. Water always helps, right? It's extremely sunny today. They must be dehydrated. That's not the issue, Kaminari whines, pressing his face to the grass, as if it will provide him with some sort of reprieve from the UA rays hitting him from above. My water bottle is warm! But warm water still works as water, Shoto counters, uncertain. It tastes better cold. That doesn't make any sense, Katsuki huffs, lying face up, one hand tossed over his eyes. Water tastes the same both ways. Well, it feels better cold, Jiro corrects. It provides comfort. Oh gee, I sure can't think of anyone who'd be able to rectify that in a single second. I wonder what I'm going to do with my warm water bottle now. I'm suffering so much, I can't find any sort of solution. Katsuki responds sarcastically, grabbing his own container. I guess I'll just have to grow up and drink some water that is above 80 degrees like I do. Wait, Kaminari says, pausing. He squints up at the sky. Then he sits bolt upright, looking over at Katsuki. You know someone who's able to make cold water colder? Oh my god, these guys are stupid. I love them. Sorry, I'm trying not to get distracted by the chat. When I finish this fic, I will look at the chat again, and you'll probably have to do with me talking more about All Might. Wait, Kaminari says, pausing. He squints up at the sky. Then he sits bolt upright, looking over at Katsuki. You know someone who's able to make water colder? Yeah, in fact, he can also make water out of thin air, but that's beside the point. Who, Bakugo? How could you keep this secret from us? Oh my god, Katsuki says, sounding pained. Half and half, save me. Todoroki! Kaminari exclaims, his eyes snapping over to Shoto's. Oh no. You're right, Bakubro. Todoroki, could you cool this down for me, please? A bunch of their classmates seem to make the same realization too, and they perk up. Shiro, Ashido, and Kaminari start running forward, and then everything descends into chaos. Everyone! Ida shouts, as Shoto's attempting to avoid getting trampled by people trying to use him as a refrigerator. Make a line! And then he was like, he thought that Ida was gonna, like, save him. He's like, no, everyone, form a line to bother Shoto. Shoto first notices that Katsuki is having trouble gripping a pencil correctly as he's trying to do his homework. The blonde keeps readjusting his hold, then trying to switch between different types of pencils as he has in his backpack, before finally resorting to a pen and writing in cursive in order to go faster. They always help each other in their home learning assignments, given that they have the same classes and lesson material. Shoto's pretty sure he's never seen Katsuki have this much trouble with simply writing something down in his notebook, though. He forces a neutral expression onto his face, but Shoto can see that he's getting tenser by the second. He chooses to bring it up. After another few minutes of watching his brother struggle. What's wrong? Crimson eyes snap over to meet with heterochromic ones. Katsuki shrugs half-heartedly. I overused my quirk during practice. The issue will resolve itself after I sleep it off. I'll be fine tomorrow. Shoto frowns at that. He usually doesn't have much trouble with his own quirk, but then again, he doesn't have to rely solely on his palms the way Katsuki does in order to activate his fire or ice. But there is one thing he tries whenever his wrists feel sore. Give me your hands, Shoto tells him. What? Katsuki asks, diverting his attention away from his notes. I think I can help. Okay, Katsuki says, complying. He sets his pen down and turns to the side, leaving both his palms face up. Shoto can only do one at a time, so he reaches over to the teen's dominant hand with his own palm, placing it on top and turning on the left side of his quirk. The warmth transfers immediately. It should be effective and do Katsuki some good, even if the blonde naturally runs warm due to his own explosion quirk. Katsuki sighs slightly, and Shoto thinks he sees the blonde's posture loosen a little. Thanks, Katsuki mumbles, and Shoto smiles. Anytime. Don't hesitate to let me know if something's bothering you. After class finishes heroics for the day, they reconvene at a certain place, chattering animatedly as Aizawa finishes up some grading for their work. Hitoshi stares at the ground, though, as if trying to avert his gaze from the bright sunlight as much as possible. He managed to snag a couple of their classmates off guard with his quirk, even if he was training with his capture scarf for the most part. He's been training to extend the duration in which he activates brainwashing, though, which gives him headaches the longer he uses it. The hot weather today can't be helping the matter either, so Shoto steps in. Keep your eyes on me for a minute, Hitoshi, Shoto tells the taller boy, who looks up, squinting slightly. Shoto places his right palm on his brother's forehead. It'll have to do. Hitoshi flinches a little at the sudden coldness, but eventually leans into it, closing his eyes. Is that better? Shoto asks softly. Yeah, Hitoshi responds, smirking a little. Thanks for being my resident ice pack show. They're so cute! I want them to be brothers. Okay, I'm going to catch up on the chat now because there's a lot of long messages that I didn't get to see. I think the biggest problem for yes, Nezu, I did read that one. You should read a bit. Yep, I did that as well. There's a conspiracy that All Might had a quirk but just didn't know about it because it's very Buffy form, and I don't know if I'm wrong, but I think one of the old users, I think that was his quirk. Could be wrong, I really don't know. That is not true. I don't know if you're reading the manga, so I don't want to spoil anything for you, but we do have pretty strong confirmation in the manga that he was definitely quirkless. All Might never had a quirk. He was always quirkless. As far as I can tell, I believe his buff form is just straight up what his body was like before, and he only becomes skeletal because of the damage his body took, and that he was already pretty muscly and just kept getting bigger the more he used his quirk. As far as I'm aware, that's kind of how it works. But yeah, he's definitely confirmed was quirkless, no secret quirk, because of stuff that happens that if he did have a quirk, it would have been made known by that. But again, I don't want to spoil it if you haven't read the manga. I don't know where you're at. Though I've heard the theory a lot. I remember when I first heard the theory, in my head I was like, that doesn't make sense. And a lot of people were like, it does. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I guess it kind of makes sense, but I just think story-wise it wouldn't make as much sense, because Izuku is clearly supposed to be just All Might again, and we're just having this circle of thing, except for Izuku's chosen one. Love that for him. It was just great. I love him. But yeah, he's not. Not Juicy. Personally, don't like All Might that much. I also don't not like Recovery Girl. It's not like I actually hate them, if you get what I mean. No, that's fair. I don't really like Recovery Girl either. I mean, I think she's really interesting, and I think her quirk's really interesting. But when she did that, like, I'm not gonna heal you from like stuff like this again, it really upset me. And I know she was probably just like saying that to be frustrated in the moment. But I've also read too many fics where Izuku takes that very personally. There's one fic, or maybe I'll get to podfic it at some point, which is really good, where Izuku is like really like injured, and he's not been going to Recovery Girl because she said that, and he's like, oh, I can't go to her for anything anymore, and it makes me sad. So we're responding to the uwu. Uwu. I feel like I never knew that I could actually really do that at all, so it kind of surprised me the first time I did that and that came out of me. It's kind of fun to do. Try it at home. Obviously I can't hear you, but try it in the chat, guys. What was I going to read? It was on this list. Oh, I just clicked the wrong thing because I'm an idiot. Blah blah. I think it was this one that I wanted to read. Yes, I think it is this one actually. Let's do it. Oh, I already have it open in a tab. I'm such an idiot. Don't mind me. Just me having zero bloody brain skills. I also have no brain skills. I have no brain cells. I am the marshmallow. Welcome. Sorry that you didn't get the notification, but I'm glad you're here now. I hope you are enjoying the stream. Let me know how long you guys want to go on, how many fics you want me to read. I think I have some Peter Tony fics that I can possibly read. If you want to, let me know. Hopefully by the time I finish actually reading this fic, I'll know if you said yes or not. So this is Tungsten, written by One Box Brained Kitten. Summary: you're married? A high-pitched shout came out of midair. By the way, I'm reading this blind, so we're gonna have fun together. This is a blind read of basically just from people who are like, yeah, no, just do whatever you want with my fic, just give me credit. And I was like, okay, cool, find these bitches. So I can read this. It's a general blanket permission for this, so we're good there. But I haven't read it before, so we're just gonna go on a bit of an adventure because I can't. The lag is like, well, I don't know if like the lag's like a lag for you guys, but you guys are like too far behind me for me to just like wait. I think you're a few minutes behind, which is kind of mad. I'm learning a lot about live streaming today. Okay. Summary: you're married? A high-pitched shout came out of midair. Yes, he answered again, weary. Who's married? Jiro asked, jogging after hearing the commotion. The rest of the class was also wandering closer. Curious little shits. Aizawa is! Look! A single floating glove pointed accusingly at the ring on a chain around his neck. Jiro gasped. No way, she said, halfway between shocked and excited. Was it really that surprising? Aizawa questioned internally. Okay, yeah, maybe it surprised him too. The battle was easy, actually. A group of villains had invaded the UA campus, arriving in a swirl of purple, then promptly vanished. They weren't even a challenge to beat. It was surprising and confusing. But it soon became clear what had happened once every villain was beaten and apprehended. There was a group of cultists that believed in God knows what, and generally thought they were better than everyone else, which they clearly were not. The worries about their presence being some kind of diversion were dispelled quickly once Nezu realised what had happened. Nobody liked cultists. Nobody. Not even the League, apparently. They disliked them enough to drop them in the heart of enemy territory and just leave them there. So what the fuck is going on in this fic? It's just like some crack, and I love it. The equivalent of a resident bagging up their rubbish and throwing it over the fence of their neighbour to deal with. Smart. Irritating, but smart. The cultists had also likely been loaded with false information from the very beginning. If the League lied to them about this attack, they probably lied to them about everything else as well. So they couldn't even tell the police anything that wasn't a lie that they'd been fed on purpose, when they inevitably realised that they'd been tricked and decided to blab. God, Aizawa had a headache which was only exasperated by his incoming need to go to the support department and get a new capture scarf. His current one, all reliable, lay in pieces all over the ground. One of the cultists had a knife and a lot of determination, which normally wouldn't be enough to hack his main weapon into spaghetti strings, but it was getting old, and had to put up with the task of restraining his trigger-happy students capable of creating major temperature fluctuations, and a multitude of sharp edges near daily, not to mention the active patrols on top of that. It had reached retirement. The sensation of a breeze against his neck was a very unfamiliar feeling. Shoto, shouting, caught his attention, and he turned around to look. It was Bakugo. What a shock. Yelling at Midoriya, who, to his credit, didn't seem bothered. That couldn't be said for Todoroki and Ida, however, who were quickly coming to their friend's aid. Kirishima was also working on the other end of the spectrum, keeping hold of Bakugo and digging his feet into the floor so that they couldn't get any closer. So many problem children all in one scene. This would not end well. Bakugo, he warned, gruff. Calm down, Ida. Todoroki, back off. But Bakugo was... Todoroki started, his tone emotionless, but his face very much ticked off. I'm aware, he stated, activating his quirk, which never failed to shut them up. But that doesn't mean you can set him on fire. Walk away, all of you. Or do you want detention? No answers. That's odd. Sir? Midoriya croaked out. Yes, problem child, he said, finally blinking and deactivating his quirk. Is that a wedding ring? He He meekly pointed a scarred finger at Aizawa's chest. Oh, wow, okay. The swelling's gone. Sorry. I think the internet is, really trying here. I'm sorry. It's struggling. Where was I? So tired by this point. My brain is, turned to mush. He looked down and saw, yep, that was indeed his wedding ring. He kept it on a chain around his neck, hidden under his jumpsuit. Oh, for fuck's sake. Without the weight of his capture scarf, it must have floated out of his clothes while using his quirk. God damn it. He froze for a few seconds, then sighed a long-suffering sigh. He had no excuses. Yes. His students gaped at him, likely pretty completely forgotten. Sorry, just Aizawa being yeah, and what of it? Yes. His students gaped at him, likely petty conflict completely forgotten. You're married? A high-pitched shout came from mid-air. Looking closer, Aizawa noticed a single floating glove, Hagakure, who apparently had been listening. At least her stealth was improving. Yes, he answered again, wearily. Who's married? Jiro asked, jogging over after hearing the commotion. The rest of the class was also wandering closer. Curious little shits. Aizawa is... Look! The single glove pointed accusingly at his chest. Jiro gasped. No way, she said, halfway between shocked and excited. From there, it descended into a complete nightmare of questions and expletives that he didn't even try to answer. Was it really that surprising? Was this really that surprising? Okay, yeah, maybe. It surprised him too. Enough! He finally shouted, activating his quirk again. Everyone went silent. Speak one at a time, or my head will explode. Almost every hand shot up. Jesus Christ on bonfire night. What the fuck? Jesus Christ on bonfire night. To be fair, I say this like I don't say Christ on a bike. I put, you know what? We put Christ on everything. But if it's bonfire night, I'm assuming that the person who wrote this is also British. Brit gang. Jesus Christ on bonfire night. I'm sorry, I need a minute for that. That's fucking hilarious. Almost every hand shot up. Jesus Christ on bonfire night. He deserved a nap for a neck. He deserved to nap for a decade. Ashido. Who is it? She yelled. Pass. Next. Ayama. Like, okay, I've never tried to do a French accent before. I'm not ready to do this off the cuff. I can't do it until I know what it's going to sound like. Someone asked if they missed the MCU fix. If you haven't, I'll probably do one later after this one if you want that done. But by the time you hear this, it'll be too late. So far behind. I was going to ask the same, he admitted. I can't do the French accent off the cuff. I'll practice it for next time I do Aoyama. This is the first time I've ever had Aoyama speak. I'm actually like devastated that I finally get a fic where he speaks, but I'm late. I don't know if it's because it's live, but mine keeps pausing the audio. Okay, I'm sorry that there's a lag. Anyway. I'm not going to tell you who it is. If that's what you're going to ask, put your hand down. A good half of the hands immediately fell. Nosy little Midoriya. What is that quirk like? He asked, having pulled a notebook and pencil out of thin air. Midoriya's just classic. He's just, don't ever change, baby. I have no doubt that you could track them down from that alone, so pass. Midoriya looked immediately... Oh, my poor boy. Midoriya immediately looked saddened, making Aizawa feel like he'd been kicked in the ribs, but his spouse's information wasn't his to share, so... Next, Kirishima. Do you have children? He tilted his head slightly when he asked. No. Next, Hagakure. Is it Miss Joke? I'd rather garrot myself with the shoelace. I don't even know what garrot means, but it sounds hilarious. Next. How long have you been married for? About 3 years, give or take. Next. Ida. Do we get more than one question? Nope. Next. Uraraka. Are they a hero too? Pass. Next. Bakugo. Why? He asked, blunt. Aizawa was momentarily taken aback. What do you mean, why? He put his hands in his pockets and asked back. Why the fuck would you get married? You're a pro hero. I'm not sure if this is you... Aizawa's about to fucking sass this fucking bitch into next week. I'm not sure if this is news to you, but I am a person, Bakugo. People can... He paused for a split second. Fall in love? Hagakure squealed. Yeah, love, sure. Last one, Mineta. Okay, I haven't done a Mineta voice before, so we'll see what happens here. Is she hot? Well, let me know if you should. I've never had to voice Mineta, but that was fun to do, so we'll see if we get any more. Mineta's usually out of fics that I read, because he just, like, gets fucking yeeted into the sun, or we just pretend he never existed, which I'm happy about. Fucking perv. A disgusted silence crept over everyone in earshot. Aizawa shouldn't have expected anything more, really. many hundreds of attempts from many, many different people to pull Minetta's head out of his own arse, or the ass of whatever woman he last saw, had proven unsuccessful. The only reason he wasn't out there on the pavement was the League, and the fact that if they expelled him, he would be beyond the reaches of UA, and thus an easy target. Unfortunately, Aizawa was obligated to his students, no matter who they were. Why was that so hard to read? Jeez. Oh, thanks. So just, thanks Lotto 007 for saying that they think I'm doing good reading live. It's kind of a struggle. I didn't think it would be this hard. It's actually quite difficult. I'm gay. I should rewind that. I didn't even get a moment to... I didn't even read that last line. That's probably why it didn't make sense. Okay, we'll bring it back. A disgusted silence crept over everyone in earshot. Aizawa shouldn't have expected anything more, really. Many hundreds of attempts from many, many different people to pull Minetta's head out of his arse, or the arse of whatever woman he last saw, had proven unsuccessful. The only reason he wasn't out on the pavement was the League, and the fact that if they expelled him, he would be beyond the reaches of UA, and thus an easy target. Unfortunately, Aizawa was obligated to his students, no matter who they were. But, having said that, he'd had just about enough of Minoru Minetta's bullshit, as had everyone else. "I'm gay," he said, in the most deadpan voice he could physically muster, and that comment just earned you detention. Ashido barely smothered a snorting laugh behind her palm. Kirishima was looking at him with pure admiration, and everyone else just looked like they'd been smacked with a barge pole. "Class is cancelled for today. Go see Recovery Girl if you feel your injuries need it. Everyone else, back to the dorms." Aizawa turned away from them all, slowly making his way to the exit. Jeez, what? Okay, I don't know what. Sorry. This is from my end. I don't know if this is fucked up what you can see, because it's really far behind, so I can't tell. What the fuck just happened to my freaking shit? Oh no. Life is hard. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. You know what? We move. We do what we have to do. We keep going. I'm using, what's it called? OBS to stream, and apparently this is a struggle. Hard times have befallen me. What can I say? Someone keeps sending notification to my partner because his Discord is out, so... Okay. If it looks alright, let me know. I'm not sure if it does. If something's wrong with it. Hopefully not. Hopefully everything's fine. Can I mute Discord? Okay. I'll just have to do. The sound of Midoriya bursting into the common room with a huge pile of books and magazines confirmed that, yes, they really were going to do this. Ashido clapped as he dropped the pile onto the coffee table that had... oh god, these guys. That almost everyone was sat around. "So," she said, jovial and overexcited, brandishing her pink whiteboard pen like a weapon. "What clues do we have so far?" "It has to be a man," Asui croaked. I can't do it. That Asui was really bad. Sorry about that. Struggle bus for me. "Yep," she confirmed, writing, "It's a dude," underneath the title, "Clues, Heart." They have to have been a marriageable age at least 3 years ago, Ida said. 21 years old, minimum, was added. Would he really marry someone that much younger than him, though? Yaoyorozu questioned. I agree with Yaomomo. I don't think Sir is that kind of guy, Kaminari popped up. True, Ashido hummed, and scribbled, prob's older though, into the end of the clip. What a great guy. Thanks, Aizawa. Oh god, I think I'm changing things. I should not do that. They're not quirkless, Bakugo grumbled from his place that he leant up against the wall, away from the rest of the group. No matter how much he tried to pretend he wasn't, he was interested. Eh? How'd you figure out that? How'd you figure that? Is that okay? Ugh, sorry, my headphones are really hurting now. Huh? How'd you figure that? Kirishima asked. Ask Deku. That's what he got his stupid notebooks for. Bakugo pointed across the room at Midoriya, who was digging through a pile of books to find the specific notebook he was looking for. The excited "ah" told everyone. Why did it come like that? Ah! That's worse than the an excited "ah" told everyone he found it. He then began to flip through the pages so fast the paper was basically a blur. Deku? Uraraka said. He didn't give us any information about a quirk, but do you know something? She said, confused. Oh, he gave us plenty of information, Midoriya chirped. He said that if he told me, I'd be able to figure out who it is, which means they're probably already in your books, Uraraka finished for him. That's genius, Deku. But dude, you have every hero under the sun in those books. How do we narrow it down to just one? Kaminari groaned. Well, it can't be a woman or NB, so that rules out about 53% by default, he began to ramble. High likelihood that they're based in Japan, between the ages of, let's say, 26 to 34. Rule out everyone who's publicly married. The ring looked like it was made out of tungsten, so that implicates that his spouse has metal allergies. Metal what? Pure tungsten is hypoallergenic. It's often used as a substitute for gold or silver in wedding rings if the wearer is allergic, Midoriya rattled off, not looking away from his book. But that would mean Aizawa is the one with the allergies, Yaoyorozu asked. But wouldn't that mean that Mr. Aizawa is the one with the allergies? Yaoyorozu asked. No, otherwise he'd be fucking allergic to his scarf. It's an alloy, remember? Bakugo butted in. So it must be his spouse who's allergic, Ashido nodded. Wait, doesn't that make our search super specific now? How many people have metal allergies? Hagakure jumped up and down. It's way less common in men than in women, Kaminari nearly shouted, reading off his Google search. Only 2%! That narrows it down a ton, Kirishima beamed. Midoriya, do you know who it could be? Midoriya thought hard. Not exactly. I can think of 4 heroes off the top of my head who have metal allergies, but 4 are exempted by other clues. I also doubt Mr. Aizawa has met any of them. Darn, Ashido pouted. I'll go research, he said, determined, gathering up all his books. See you guys later, he shouted after himself before disappearing up the stairs. And that's the last we see of Midoriya for the next month, Asabi croaked, smiling, her comment earning a few giggles. Could you hear me in the middle there realise who that was supposed to be speaking? Blind reads are kind of hard, but they're also really funny. I'm having a really good time reading this. It's just so funny. Unbeknownst to the class, behind the corner of the nearest hallway, one of their teachers stood and listened. He'd been asked by Aizawa to go check up on them, make sure they were okay, etc. They seemed perfectly fine from where he was standing, healthy and happy enough to gossip and be nosy about his identity, no less. Honestly, metal allergies? Good guess, little listeners, but no diced. Tungsten is cheap is all. He quickly chuckled to himself before turning around and walking back the way he came. Oh, wow. Is a racer mic cheap? Because, they must make a bag. Aizawa's got, 2 jobs because he's like a pro hero. I mean, he's underground, so he probably doesn't make as much, but he's also a teacher. And then President Mike is a teacher and a pro hero, like a spotlight pro hero, so he must make a lot more money. And he has a radio show, and like, okay, let's not get into a tangent about how money works in the My Hero universe, because I have so many questions. I want to know how these wages work. Who's getting the money for merch? Is there official merch? Is it licensed? What's the situation? These are the questions I ask myself. They'd been 16 when they agreed to it, young and dumb, full of delusions of the future. As they sat down and studied, alone in the bedroom, as crows crawled and the sun set, they made a promise that if they reached the age of 28 and still hadn't found anyone else, they would marry each other. Looking back on it, they probably should have set the age a tad higher. But what's done is done. Of course, Kayama caught wind of their little pact and silently vowed to make it come true, even if both of them forgot. Neither of them forgot, but they conveniently tried to pretend they did by the time their 28th birthdays rolled around. Before they even had time to protest or sober up from the party, she dragged the 2 of them to a courthouse and had them wed. The fact that the court even let them get married while so wasted they could barely see was a little off-putting, but they had promised, so... That's so cute. I love it. I feel like you hear a lot of the like pacts. If we're both this age and we aren't married, we'll marry each other. But you don't get to really see like a lot of them actually going through with it. This is cute. Sorry, I'm getting excited. I love them. Blind reads are fun. Do you guys like the blind reads? Are we? I'm just checking on the chat briefly. Anyway, so. It was all about the fact that being married. And it wasn't that bad. In fact, there were a lot of perks to being married that they hadn't expected. For one, there were the tax benefits, and it gave them the idea of moving in together. Aizawa was basically never in his own apartment anyway, between visiting Yamada, doing teacher-y stuff, and still doing full-time hero work. His apartment was just a costly shell that sat there doing nothing. The only reason he didn't cancel his lease was because he needed somewhere to bring any stray kittens or lost pets he found at night, when the shelters were closed. And he could just as easily do that from Yamada's apartment. The fact that they were married made moving in together a cinch, and Yamada quite enjoyed the company of the odd stray or lost kitty that Aizawa brought home until they could be relocated. Sorry, that just reminded me about the pigeon. Remind me to tell you guys about the pigeon. There's a pigeon in my back garden. I guess I'm a mother to a pigeon now. Another good perk was that legally they were family, meaning they had full access to each other during periods of hospitalization. A friend gets very limited visitation rights, but a spouse can basically come and go as they please. That had come in very handy after the USJ incident, during which Yamada had rarely left his side. Overall, worth it. Things hadn't changed between them, but it was reassuring to know that they would always be by each other's sides, till death do us part, as the saying goes. But it was ironic. But their marriage would likely last longer than people in actually romantic relationships. This fact never failed to make Yamada laugh, and Aizawa would be lying if he said he didn't find it funny too. And if Yamada was learning how to cook purely to give Aizawa a better diet, and if Aizawa was learning how to properly care for leather garments and tie long blonde hair into braids just so Yamada wouldn't pout about it not being able to do it, and if they cuddled while watching movies and shared a bed on the nights when Aizawa brought animals home together because the strays were always kept in his room, and when it was cold... I'm sorry. Oh my god, they're so cute. I'm gonna cry. Whew. Why is this making me really emotional? And if they cuddled while watching movies and shared a bed on the nights where Aizawa brought animals home because the strays were always kept in his room, and when it was cold, they were warmer laying together, then that was still normal friend stuff, right? Yeah, definitely. Right? My heart. I want to cry. That was so cute. Did you guys think that was cute? I thought it was bloody adorable. Wow. Absolutely devastating scenes out here today, guys. Oh, I fixed the screen. Don't worry, I fixed it. Now I will no longer be struggling to read. I had to make the window really small to see properly because my like interface got really fucked up for some reason. I don't know why. But I will catch up on some chats. The chat, it's like 30 minutes behind. Okay, wow, that's really far behind. Sorry about that, guys. It's bad that much of a struggle. You're doing really good reading live. Chat seems to be is really far behind. I was currently still reading this one, and it's 60 chapters. I didn't expect you to make this into a video, but I definitely recommend reading it. Oh. Ayama has his support items in the entrance exam and the sports festival, although his situation is special. But the same could be argued for a quirkless person. That could be argued for a quirkless person. That is very true. I don't know exactly how Aoyama's works. It definitely does seem that it is like a showcase. I mean, it depends, I guess, on whether or not you think that quirkless discrimination is like a really big thing. Because whilst like Izuku is very obviously clearly bullied in canon for like wanting to be a hero and not having a quirk, and you get a lot of that, there isn't like much really said too much about like any about what the situation systematic quirklessness is like. So quirkism is like. So I don't know if that is something that they would let him do, or if they would like purposely try and like have him not be allowed to be in the sports, like use like equipment for the sports festival unless he made, because like that definitely seems to be a thing, is that like you have to make your own support item if you want to bring it to the sports festival. But Ayama definitely didn't do that. So I don't know, is it just because he's rich? Because they got money. Interesting. I wonder, I don't know, is that just a plot hole and now we're just gonna like read into it and they just didn't really think about it that much? But it does ask a good question. Love hearing your opinions on All Might. I don't really like him, but I'm not against hearing people's opinions on him. So you can talk if you want. At least I don't mind it. Thanks. I just love him so much. I think he's so underrated, and I think it's sad because I think he's like really like kind and caring, and he loves Izuku so much. I believe in Dad Might. He genuinely wants to be Izuku's dad, and that'd be great. So, not to get off topic, and you won't see this for apparently like bloody half an hour, but I do want to know about your guys' thoughts on Izuku's dad. What are the questions? Apparently we've got to meet him before the series ends. That's what Hikoshi has said, that we will see him in the series before it ends. I kind of I don't know if it's wishful thinking, but I kind of feel like we might get an All For One is Izuku's dad reveal, because it seems very on brand for All For One as a whole, and like it would be good with this, like they've kind of been doing this like opposing sides thing, and with Izuku and Shigaraki. I've been reading too long, my brain's like going to mush, but I think it would make sense and like would be like kind of complete those like kind of opposing sides, to have like Shigaraki, who is from like this big hero lineage and has a super powerful quirk and becomes like a villain, and him being like kind of related to All Might. I mean, not technically related to All Might, but like kind of that side, and then but being like raised by One For All For One, and like having that thing, but like in opposition to Izuku being like the son of like a huge villain, but like doesn't have a quirk and is like with All Might. Because I mean, we know the like All For One does that to fuck with All Might, which, you know, wow, the psychological warfare, iconic. But I do like wonder if it could work the other way around, if this is something he would purposely plan. I just don't know why else there would be so much like mystery around who Izuku's dad is and where he is, and like this, oh, he's gonna show up, so I feel like he's got to be someone important, and I feel like that would be a very good reveal. I mean, it's kind of like a little cliche, just get very like Luke, I am your father-y on him, but I think it would really work. Anyway, let me know what your theories on Izuku's parentage is, whilst we hop into some MCU fic reading. What is this, the right tab? Am I blind? Oh god, I might be blind. Yes, okay, this one is cute and kind of sad. Just get ready to cry, guys. No, it's really sad. We've got I'm just going to read the summary. You'll find out what it's about then. But I have read this fic several times, and I have cried to this fic. So, let that be known. I'm just trying to check where I'm at. Okay. As far as you guys are concerned, I've just finished reading the last fic before the fic that I just read, I think. So you guys will be far behind. It really is far behind, but yeah, let me know. It seems that people do want me to read MCU fics from what I'm seeing in the comments, so that would be cool. I think I'm gonna do that, but let me know how long you guys want to stay on for. There's 12 of you in the chat, which was fun. I hope you guys are enjoying, and that I'm not fucking this up ridiculously bad. I've never live streamed before. I've said this a million times, but I'm very nervous about it. Okay, water break. Because, oh god, I have been talking for like a good 2 hours straight, so I don't know how long you wanted this stream to be. Let me know if y'all bored of shit. Okay. College days. Written by Ink in My Heart and on the page. Summary. After disaster strikes close friends, Tony Stark must take care of their 18th-old baby, Peter. In the days that follow, he forgets to tell his roommates about their new guest. This is really cute. We've got a college AU. It's very cute. Nobody has seen Tony in weeks. While it was well known around the college that Tony Stark liked to party, he had never disappeared for more than one day at a time. The man likes to bounce around colleges, going from one party to the next, but his friends always knew where he was. He would usually end up on someone's pictures, and he never disappeared for more than 2 days at a time. Despite the heavy drinking and partying, Tony always showed up to his classes. Sometimes he looked worse for wear, sporting a hangover that he tried to conceal under his signature sunglasses, but he always turned up. For the past 3 weeks, Tony hadn't shown up for a single class. "We've checked the hospitals," Steve said, looking around the group that sat in the apartment. Tony has been admitted to any of them. I think that's supposed to be hasn't. It's always a thing that throws me when I'm like recording and I'm like, is this a typo? Do I fix it? Or do I read it how you wrote it? And like, maybe I'm an idiot for like assuming this was a typo, but like sometimes I'm like, this must be a typo, right? During their first year of college, Steve, Bucky, Sam, Bruce, Natasha, Clint, Thor, Wanda, Rhodey, Pepper, and Tony had all met at a party. While they were all scattered across several colleges, the group had somehow formed a tight bond with one another. After a few more parties and meeting up at the local coffee shop to study, by the time they were in their second year of college had started, they had found a house to live in and growing even closer with one another. For Tony to disappear like he had, something had to be wrong. Has anyone heard from Tony? Natasha asked, looking at Pepper and Rhodey. Pepper was Tony's girlfriend, a recent development that everyone had seen coming, but Rhodey was his best friend. The man sharing many of his classes with Tony. If anyone was going to know where Tony was, it would be one of them. No, Rhodey sighed, rubbing his forehead. This isn't like him, Pepper said firmly, jaw tight and body tense. You think he's avoiding us? Clint asked, raised his water bottle towards Steve. Or is he avoiding you? Ooh, drama. Steve's cheeks went hot. 3 weeks ago, Tony and Steve had an argument about Tony's drinking habits. While most of them had slowed down their partying ways, Tony hadn't. As they started their 3rd year of college, Steve had suggested that maybe Tony should slow down and get some help. Steve could admit that maybe he could have been a bit more tactful, and the resulting argument had been loud. They hadn't seen Tony since Civil War. Civil War College AU. It's about Tony's drinking problem. Tony's proud, but he's not stupid. Pepper sniffed. We spoke a couple of days after the fight, and he agreed that you were right. You were being a bit of an asshole, but about it. Rhodey's. You know what? Rhodey's a real one. You're a bit of an asshole about it, but right, Rhodey added, giving Steve a glare. Steve cleared his throat, looking sheepish. You think he checked into, like, a facility or something? He would have told us. Rhodey shook his head. It isn't like this. It isn't like Tony to just disappear like this, Pepper stressed, eyes glistening with tears. He wouldn't miss his classes like this. He's not appeared in any social media, Wanda said, scrolling through her phone. He has not been tagged in any parties. Do you think we should contact his family? Thor asked. Perhaps they'll know where he is. Maybe we should be calling the police, Bruce said. Like, make a missing persons report? Bruce is right, Bucky said. We know it's not like Tony to disappear like this. He could be in trouble, and I think it's time we call the police. What do you think, Petey? I'm gonna cry. Baby Peter. Tony's voice suddenly filling the room, making them all turn around. In the doorway to the living room, Tony stood there, seemingly unharmed. He looked a little dishevelled, dark circles under his eyes, but what was most concerning was the baby in his arms. Think they should make a police report? Tony continued, addressing the baby, giving him a little bounce. Babies make me so emotional. I love babies. They're so cute. Just gonna bloody cry about babies for a bit. Sorry, I haven't read this fic in a little bit. I've read it a few times, but it's been a while, but it's hitting me all over again. The baby gave a happy gurgle, smiling at Tony with his gums on display, kicking his little feet. Oni! Tony? Pepper gasped, getting onto her feet. Tony looked over to her, face wincing as he took in the fresh tears in his girlfriend's eyes. In an instant, she had crossed the room, grabbing his face with her hands and pulling him into a deep kiss. Tony had enough sense to kiss her back before she pulled away and slapped his chest. Where have you been? Pepper demanded. Do you know how worried we've all been? Bah. Bah, Ani! Baby Peter's so cute. Okay, I'm sorry. Spork. I'm sorry about the ooh-oos. I'm sorry that they hurt you. I'm sorry that it upsets you when I say ooh. I'll stop. I promise I'll stop and no more ooh-oos. I just think they're fun to do. Pepper's eyes widened as she took in Peter, her mouth dropping open. My friends, Mary and Richard, Tony started to say, and his throat closed up, unable to get the rest of the sentence out. Peter's going to be living with us. Everyone connected the dots instantly, their faces falling. Oh, Tony, Pepper gasped, gently rubbing his arm. I'm sorry. He clenched his throat again. I forgot to contact you guys. With everything going on. Tones, man, come, sit down, Rhodey encouraged. Pepper took the diaper bag from Tony's shoulder, dropping it on the coffee table when she was close enough. Everyone had shifted to make room for him, and he all but collapsed onto the couch, holding the baby close. Tony, what happened? Steve asked quietly. Friends of mine I went to high school with, Mary and Richard. They were in a crash, Tony explained, voice heavy with pain as he stared at the baby in his arms. Peter somehow survived. Bah! Annie! Peter smiled, reaching for Tony's face. Steve watched as the man smiled. With an ease that Steve had never expected from Tony, he wiped away the drool that was dribbling down Peter's chin with the sleeve of his hoodie. I'm sorry I didn't call. Tony said, looking up. With the funeral, getting Peter saddled, and fighting with my parents who told me they would have no hand... With the funeral, getting Peter settled, and fighting with my parents who told me they would have no hand with me ruining my life taking in this little guy, I forgot to call. That's understandable, Tony, Steve said. I'm sorry we couldn't be there for you. We're just glad you're okay, man, Rhodey said, squeezing Tony's shoulder. We were worried. And about to call the police. Tony gave a little smirk. He's cute, Natasha said, leaning in to get a closer look at Peter. I'm sorry I didn't give you guys notice, Tony said, wincing as he looked around at everyone. I know a baby isn't what any of you signed up for. He'll make a great addition to the house, Thor declared loudly. Yeah, Peter squealed, making them all laugh. We'll be here to help, Tony, Steve said seriously. Whatever you need. Tony nodded, looking choked up once more. Thanks. Clint stood, stretching slightly. Guess this means we need to get some supplies. Does he have any allergies? Bruce asked, getting to his feet along with Sam. No. Tony shook his head. We'll go shopping for some baby food, Sam said. There's some jars in the bag. Tony jerked his chin to the bag. He likes that brand. Clint went to the diaper bag, rifling through it. Got it. We'll pick up some more diapers too. I'll come also. Wanda got to her feet. I already started a list. The Avengers' parents are making me want to cry. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting emotional. I don't know why this is... Do you have a crib? Clint asked. Or do we need to pick one up? Tony blinked at his friends. Overwhelming amounts of love surging through him as he looked around those willing to help him at a drop of notice. He wasn't sure what he had done to deserve these people in his life, but he knew that with them, Peter would be raised by the best group of people the world would ever know. Why is that so emotional? Wow, okay, yeah, this is what happens when I go, oh yeah, I remember that fic. I read it like 5 times and it was so good. Tears all over my face. Thanks, Purple Bird. Favorite YouTuber. I should not be your favorite YouTuber. Just have no fucking clue what I'm doing. But you know who is an amazing YouTuber and should be your favorite? Rad Overlord. Icon. I love her. We've been talking on Discord. I'm obsessed with her. She's the best. I love listening to her fics. I listen to every single one as soon as she uploads it. You will see me in her comments every single time. I will hype my bestie up every day of the week. Because she deserves it. It's I don't know, it's actually kind of bad. I feel like I've got like real like imposter syndrome about this now, where like I first started and I was like, oh well, they're shit anyway and nobody likes them, so it's whatever, and then people start telling me that they like them and I was like, okay, like I guess if you say so, but then Like, now I feel like there's enough of you that I'm like, why? For what reason? Why would you do this? I am not good at this. And I listen to like other podfickers and I'm like, wow, they are so much better at voice acting. I am not very good at voice acting. I just like have fun and just like do my best. But thank you for everyone who says nice things about my voice acting, even if I hate it and I feel like I'm not good at it at all and that I don't really have specific voices, and I listen to other people like Rat Overlord and I'll be like, oh my goodness, she's got everyone perfectly down, she knows what she's doing, but I know that we're all a bit of a mess anyway, and so I probably should be less insecure about it. So let's find some more MCU fics. I kind of want to do a few of these like We Forgot Peter ones because I love like doing them and they're like so fun. I do have blanket permission for the whole series. Actually, I recently got some permission from this author to fic everything they write, which means that I'm probably going to fic a very special fic of theirs. You see all these bloody tabs open, sorry about that, which, you know what, I'll let you guys have a look at them because they are bloody great. I don't know, I'm not even gonna like bother saying, they've got so many fics, it would be like impossible to find them, but basically they have one that is kind of a much longer version of the Peter is kidnapped as a child. He's Tony Stark's biological son who is kidnapped as a youth, and they are eventually reunited, and this one has a lot more of like Peter kind of having to come to terms with this idea that everything that he thought about himself was a lie, because like in this fic he literally has no idea about any of this. He has like no inkling about it, and he is kind of just like, I forget exactly how he finds out because I've read so many fic where this happens, some kind of like blood or DNA testing or something. He gets his fingerprints taken or some reason. Basically he gets pinged off as like being Tony Stark's son, and he has to go into like the police station, and they're like, you're Tony Stark's kid, and he's like, oh shit, what? That doesn't make any sense. Bitch. I mean, it does for you, Peter. It does make sense. And he then obviously is like, well, we're taking you to the tower because you're going to go live with your parents. Like, these are your parents, and they've like been missing you for like 10 years or however long exactly he's missing in that fic. But Peter's really struggling because he, one, doesn't want them to know that he's Spider-Man, but he doesn't really know how to adjust to these like two people who he has looked up to, and he knows them as celebrities, but now they're like, no, we're your parents, and they want to be his mum and dad because for them they've spent like years just looking for him and being like, we want our son back, but they've got him back now, but he doesn't know them, like he doesn't view them as his parents, and he kind of has to learn to do that. And it's a really good fic. It's quite long, so we might get to do that. Not tonight, obviously, because it's quite a long fic, but I do kind of want to podfic it. I don't know whether or not to do, like, to have long, like, podfics where I'm, like, doing multi-chapter series and having multiple of them at once. I don't know. At first I was like, oh, I'm only going to do one, like, series at a time, or, like, one big fic that goes on at a time. But I don't know, maybe I can do one from like each fandom. Let me know if you think about that. So obviously it would mean less regular updates for each one, but I don't know. You tell me in half an hour when the chat catches up. Peter gets caught up in... Oh, this is a good fic. I've read all of these, by the way. Just, you know, they're a great time. Episode with Peter... Date night. Ooh, okay, you know, let's go Nights to Forget, because this one we're at like Stark Expo, and we've got a young Peter who is, you know, there with the Leedses, his dear best friend Ned, and he's gonna go missing. Well, obviously everything happened. I'll just read the summary. Okay. A Night to Forget. Written by ink in my heart and on the page. Summary. Tony Stark? Mrs. Lee spluttered on the other end. Yeah, I got your number from Peter Parker's arm, Tony said, grinning at Peter. He said he came with you to the expo. Peter... Mrs. Leeds gasps, and then Tony heard her frantic and hysterical yelling away from the phone. Rick, we forgot Peter at the expo! We left him there! Do a turn! Turn the car around! Or, Peter is forgotten at the Stark Expo. Reading people be panicked is so funny. Peter was jostled as he buffeted in every direction. People were running and screaming in every direction, and fear was coursing through his body. Peter was too short, lost in a sea of legs as everyone scattered. He had lost sight of his best friend Ned in the chaos, and no matter how hard he called out for Ned, he couldn't see him. Peter's first Stark Expo was not going the way he had expected. Peter had been invited to the Stark Expo by his best friend Ned. After much pleading and begging to his Aunt May and Uncle Ben, they had allowed him to go. They had given him some money to buy some merchandise, which Peter had taken very seriously in his selection. After much browsing and deliberation, he had chosen a realistic-looking mask and matching gloves that had glowing repulsors. Peter had put them on immediately and hadn't taken them off. Hints, can you see where this is going? If you've seen Iron Man, you probably... Was it Iron Man 2? Is it Iron Man or Iron Man 2? It must be Iron Man 2. I think I'm an idiot. They had gone to watch the opening ceremony, and both Peter and Ned had practically been vibrating with excitement as they waited for Mr. Stark to make his appearance. They hadn't been able to get in, so they watched on the TV large screens outside the building. When he did, Peter had cheered as loudly as he could. His throat hurt from how loud he was cheering, and his palms ached from how hard he clapped. But it was all worth it. This was the greatest night of his life. But then the screams had started, and the robots started attacking, and Peter had gotten separated from the leads. Peter stayed perfectly still as people ran around him. He tried to get his legs to move, but he couldn't. Couldn't be scared. Tony Stark, Iron Man, wouldn't be scared. He could do this. Iron Man was Peter's favourite superhero, and the bravest man he knew. After his Uncle Ben, of course. Peter was a huge fan of the superhero, but also a big fan of Mr. Stark. Peter had so many science questions for the man that he had written them all down before he had left, just in case Mr. Stark had a spare minute to answer them. His aunt said that tonight would be a big night for Mr. Stark, so he may not have time to talk with Peter. But he suggested that they could write the questions to Mr. Stark and mail them in. Suddenly, the buffeting stopped, and Peter found himself in a square, practically alone. He looked up, jaw dropping behind his mask. He stared up at the large robot. It was coming towards him, the ground shaking under its heavy footsteps. It was looking right at Peter. What would Iron Man do? Peter thought. Tony Stark would not be afraid of a robot. Squaring his shoulders, Peter stared at the robot. Slowly, he raised an arm, and the Iron Man's signature pose. The robot focused on Peter and stepped closer. Peter raised his hand, trying to keep it from shaking, ready to fire. A gun appeared on the robot's shoulders, and Peter's breath caught. Something bright hit the robot, sparks flashing, and the robot went down. Peter jumped up and looked up to see Iron Man himself right before him. "Nice work, kid," came the slightly disembodied voice of Tony Stark before he was blustering off into the air once more. Behind the mask, Peter grinned and stared at the retreating figure of Iron Man. Now that the robot was taken care of, he had Ned to find. Oh, buddies, they besties. As much as Tony would like to continue kissing Pepper Potts, he did just wreck a large portion of real estate. He had managed to peel the ruined suit from his body and stored it securely in a place that wouldn't get him into trouble. Pepper had gone to talk to the authorities and begin the massive task of smoothing the whole fiasco over. Tony swept through the Eskimos. Tony swept through the expo, What had been What had been steaming with people was now a ghost town. Glass litter and trails of destruction covered the area, and it made Tony's hands clench with anger. All of this could have been avoided. He prayed that there were no deaths, that all injuries were treatable. He would have to make sure to go visit and apologize to anyone who was injured and cover any medical bills. Tony is so nice. In fact, I won't get into a talk about how I actually kind of hate Tony Stark in, like, canon. I can't get into it. Anyway. Something caught Tony's eyes, and he paused in his steps. Over to the side, poking at the now destroyed robot, was the same kid Tony had saved earlier, judging by the helmet. Tony first felt relief to see the kid was okay, but then confusion followed as he wondered why the kid was still here. The kid was gently poking the robot with his extended foot before pulling it back quickly. Then he began to write something down on a piece of paper, crouching down to use his thigh as a table. Tony strode over, glancing around to make sure that there was truly no one around. "Hey, Iron Man," Tony greeted. The kid looked up, jumping to his feet. "Mr. Stark!" "Nice work, kid." He repeated his words from earlier. "You looking to be the next Iron Man?" The kid shook his head. "Too little to be a superhero." Tony grinned. "Best to give it a few more years." "Did you get all the bad guys, Mr. Stark?" the kid asked, sounding hopeful. "Sure did," Tony said, and was relieved that the words were true. "Thanks for the help, kid. You were really brave. Hey, think you can take the mask off so I can have a look at the future Iron Man?" It's so cute. The kid hurried to take off the mask. He wiped his face with his sleeve before looking up at Tony with big, wide eyes. He had curly brown hair that was sticking in all directions, and a sheen of sweat marking where the mask had been sitting. He was looking at Tony with an awe he didn't think he deserved, mouth slightly open. This was a cute kid, even cuter when he managed a shy smile. "There we go," Tony cheered. "You got a name to go with that face?" "My name's Peter Parker, sir," Peter said. "Well, Peter, from one Iron Man to another, you can call me Tony." Tony winked, crouched down in front of Peter, wincing when his body protested at the movement. "Okay, Mr. Stark." Peter beamed a toothy smile at him. "So, what are you doing with the robot?" Tony asked. "I wanted to see how it worked," Peter said shyly. "Sorry I touched it, but I was curious to know what kind of material it was. Ned and I are trying to build our own robot." "Oh yeah?" Tony smirked, unable to stop thinking about how adorable Peter was. "What do you think of this one?" "This one was mean," Peter pouted. "Our robot is going to be really nice and colourful, not this boring grey colour. Maybe red, like your suit. But Ned and I don't have any alloy material to make it with, so we're using scrap metal that my Uncle Ben brought home." Peter looked at Tony's face, stricken. "I wasn't going to take this one, Mr. Stark. I promise. I was just writing some notes." Tony blinked as a piece of paper was thrusted at Tony, and he took it. He skimmed over it and realized that the notes that Peter was jotting down were far more advanced than he was expecting. There was also a list of questions on the page, all science questions that seemed above the level of a 10-year-old. "These are some detailed notes, Peter," Tony smiled. "You like science?" "Yes!" Peter jumped with excitement. "It's my favourite subject at school." "What are these questions?" Tony asked, showing Peter the paper again. "Oh," Peter turned shy again. "These are questions I had for you. Aunt May said that you might be too busy to answer them because this was, big night." Wow, he's so cute. "And I could mail them instead, and I brought them with me just in case I saw you." "Is that who you came with, your aunt and uncle?" Tony asked, needing to know where Peter's guardians were. A sweet kid like Peter should not have been left unattended for so long. "I came with Ned and his parents. They invited me," Peter said. "I lost them, though, when the robot started attacking. My Uncle Ben told me that if I ever get lost, I shouldn't wander because it would be harder to find me, so I stayed where I was." "Good thinking," Tony said. "How about I help you find your friend?" "Really?" Peter gasped. "You're not too busy?" Tony was, but he shook his head. "Nah, maybe you could ask me your questions as we find them." "Okay," Peter grinned, and then suddenly he was wrapped And then suddenly he wrapped his arms around Tony's neck. Tony wasn't clueless and got the hint that Peter wanted to be picked up. Hefting the kid into his arms, Tony stood and balanced Peter on his hip. The kid was light, Iron Man mask still clutched in his fingers, and his head coming to rest against Tony's temple. "Let's start with the medical tent," Tony said, and started walking. Peter asked his questions, and Tony was surprised at how well Peter could keep up. Peter, he was learning, was one smart kid, and he was a huge fan. He complimented Tony's work in a quiet voice, and he said he was really happy that he managed to find his way home from the cave that he'd been trapped in. When they reached the medical tent, Tony had answered all of Peter's questions, and the kid was happy to listen to Tony speak. "All right, can you see them?" Tony asked as he scanned the tent. Peter frowned, twisting his head from side to side as he slumped in Tony's arms. "No." "All right, let's try something else. Do you know your friend's number?" Tony tried. "Yeah!" Peter cried. He handed Tony his Iron Man helmet, Tony taking it with an amused smirk, and watched as Peter lifted the sleeve of his hoodie. On the inside of his pale wrist, a black number stood out. "It's a temporary tattoo. My aunt had them made up in case something happened to me or Ned, so that we this is so cute. It's a temporary tattoo. My aunt had them made up in case something happened to me or Ned, so that we would have the number on us." "Clever," Tony grinned, impressed at Peter's aunt's creativity. "Let's give it a call then." Handing the helmet back to Peter, Tony fished out his phone and dialed the number. He moved out of the way of the medical staff, tending to the injured and listening to the phone ring. "Hello, Mrs. Leeds speaking." A female voice answered the phone after a few rings. "Mrs. Leeds, this is Tony Stark." "Tony Stark?" Mrs. Leeds spluttered out on the other end. "Yes, I got your number from Peter's arm," Tony said, grinning at Peter. "He said he came with you to the expo." "Peter?" Mrs. Leeds gasped, and Tony heard her frantic and hysterical yelling coming away from the phone. "Rick, we forgot Peter at the expo! We left him there! Turn the car around!" She's so hysterical. I love it. "I told you we didn't have anything!" "I told you we didn't have everything!" came another voice in the background. "You didn't say it was Peter, Ned!" Okay, I gave Ned a really deep voice. I don't know why. Ned does not need that deep a voice. I'll do that again. "I told you we didn't have everything," came another voice in the background. "You didn't say Peter, Ned!" Mrs. Leeds' voice was frantic. "Oh, Mr. Stark, oh my, is Peter okay?" "He's fine," Tony said. "He's safe and unharmed." "Oh, thank God," Mrs. Leeds breathed. "We were so relieved that Ned was okay. We forgot Peter. Oh God, Mr. Stark, thank you so much for finding him." "It's no trouble," Tony said. "We're turning back right now." Mrs. Lee's voice was wobbly. "I'll wait here for you," Tony said. Oh, internet is lagging. He said a few more goodbyes and assurances before hanging up. "They'll be here soon, Peter." "Okay," Peter said, seemingly unperturbed by the fact that he had been forgotten. "Ned is going to be so excited to meet you." "Tony?" Tony spun when he heard Pepper's familiar voice. She was striding towards him, heels clucking against the ground. She looked exhausted, but happy, and Tony's stomach fluttered at the sight of her. He couldn't believe that not too long ago he had been kissing her. "Hey, Pep," Tony beamed, adjusting his grip on Peter. Pepper's eyes snapped at the movement, her face twisted with confusion. "Tony, who is this?" she asked when she finally reached him. Peter had turned shy again and turned his face into Tony's hair. Tony chuckled, grinning at Pepper. "Meet the future Iron Man, Peter Parker. Peter, this is my... Pepper." "Hi, Peter." Pepper greeted Oh, I hate whenever I have a bunch of Peter and Pepper in the same scene because, like, I'm just spitting between the two. It's so difficult. "Hi, Peter." Pepper greeted Peter, smiling warmly. "It's nice to meet you." "Hi, Miss Pepper." Peter lifted his head from Tony's hair and waved his fist at her, still clutching the helmet in his hand, the other wrapped around Tony's neck and playing with the collar of Tony's shirt. "Peter's gonna hang with us till a friend comes back to pick him up," Tony said, shooting Pepper a look, trying to convey what happened. Pepper seemed to understand and nodded. "Of course." Peter, do you need something to eat? Peter looked to Tony for permission. If you're hungry, we can find you something, Tony shrugged. Yes, please, Miss Pepper, Peter said, resting his head against Tony's once more. Tony smiled as he felt Peter's body going lax and wondered how long it would be until the kids started falling asleep. He didn't mind. It was worth it to know that the brave kid who stood up to Justin Hammer's robots. It was worth it to know the brave kid who had stood up to Justin Hammer's robots. Why was that really difficult to get out there? Wow. Oh wow, you're so far behind, so you probably won't not see this, but coffee is good. Good night. Hope you have a good sleep. Understandable. It's been probably a long day. And Lydia, hi, welcome. I know you said you couldn't come because work, but you are here now, I guess. Wow, this is like really far behind. I don't know whether or not to keep going, and I can't tell. Maybe. Just like trying to figure stuff out, see what's rolling on. Hopefully, you know, as far back as you guys may be, you're still enjoying what's going on. I'm just gonna like put a message to the chat because you guys are obviously like quite far behind me from like where I am, my perspective. So let's just pop into this chat. Hi guys. You know, if you hear this in bloody half an hour. So, oh, this is gonna be like really weird for you if you like catch up with this, hearing me write a message that you would have seen me write like seen in the chat ages ago. Hey, I'm super ahead, so I guess. Wow, typing on the computer is difficult. Sorry, this is like my partner's gaming PC, and so all of their buttons are like, well, not all of them, but a lot of the keys are like worn away from like furiously playing too hard. So it's kind of hard to tell what letters are. The WASD is fact. The WASD is gone. There is no WASD. They're just blank spaces. So I have to try and remember where they are. Gonna message here. I just read a second. MCU fic. Should I keep going? Question mark. I don't know, how far ahead of you guys would you say? Am I really far ahead? Let's find out how far ahead I am. Okay, I haven't read a single MCU fic to you guys, have I? Yeah, sorry guys. I'm so far behind you guys. Okay, an MCU fic. Yes, I've read 2 now, but it's very hard behind. I don't know what to do next, because I don't want to just like be sat in like silence here while you guys are like catching up, because yeah, you guys are still in the My Hero fix. Wow, you guys are far behind. I don't know why the lag is like that long. I don't think it should be that long. So I'm not really sure what to do. I don't know. Yes, from ending the stream last time, I know that like when I end it will cut off, so I don't want to like get rid of the 2 fics that I've just read, so I might let it time out and then do it when it catches up. I don't know, is that stupid? not saying anything. Yeah. I'm gonna ask you guys in the chat. Give me a sec. Sorry that you're just like dealing with silence. This is a real struggle. Sorry guys. This is like so unentertaining for you guys. I'm really sorry. If you make it this far, I don't know. Oh, and it's quite laggy, isn't it? It's pausing a lot. I'm really sorry that the internet is really bad, I guess. I don't know. I'm guessing it's the internet. Okay, I might do that. So I'm gonna personally, oh god, I'm gonna have to like keep an eye on the stream after this to know when to end it, but maybe I'll end up having to clip it. We'll see what happens. But until then, I guess I'm just gonna like be saying goodbye to you guys. I mean, from my perspective, I've been streaming for like 3 hours. I don't know if that's a lot. What's a lot streaming wise? But I had a fun time. Even if I need to figure out better, I guess, how to do this. Maybe it would be different if I actually do like a stream from my phone, like with a camera and not having to do it like online through an interface. I don't know if that really makes a big difference to you guys. I don't know, like maybe we'll try again and see if that does work, but for now I'm gonna say goodbye. I hope you guys all have a nice day, a nice sleep. I don't know what time it is for all of you guys, like about the place. Maybe I'll just like listen back with you guys and we can just like be vibing. So yeah, okay, I'm just going to let it catch up. I'll probably just continue up in the comments with you guys. It's gonna be interesting when this catches back up again, but I will probably end the stream after this. But thank you so much for all coming. It's been a really fun time for me. It's been definitely a new experience. I don't really know exactly how this is working, but it was fun, and thank you all for like subscribing. And this is like 1,000 subscriber live stream, which for me to just like get like a little bit like mushy. I don't know why I'm just like so emotional person, I guess, but it does mean a lot to me that you guys all have like subscribed. You came in to join in on this and listen and just like have a good time. I never thought that I would get really any kind of subscriber following situation. I was pretty sure that this like would pretty much be it, like that I'd maybe, if I was like crazy, in like a year would get like 100 subscribers, and like 1,000 is crazy. Like I don't even know what 1,000 people looks like, to be honest. So it's kind of wild to be in this position, and I have a lot of fun making podfics. It's a real passion of mine. It isn't something that I ever thought that like I would get super into. I like found podfics, obsessed over podfics, and then suddenly I was making them, and here I am now. Like I've been on YouTube for about 6 months, I think now. my YouTube account was made ago, which is crazy. I don't think it's been like quite 6 months, but I know my YouTube channel was like, made 6 months ago. I don't think it's quite 6 months. It was like, what? Is it end of August, I want to say? Which is almost 6 months, I guess, by the time we hit the end of the year. That's crazy. I didn't think I'd keep up with anything this long. I guess it's the long drawn out special interest with past hyperfixation. But I have a lot of fun making these. It's been a really good time. But thank you for coming and thank you for subscribing. I'm not gonna keep going on and on. I'm going around in circles. It's weird not being able to listen back to what I say. But thank you guys for coming, and I'm gonna probably mute my mic and just hop in the comments with you guys. You'll find all of this out when you get to here, but I love you guys, and I will see you guys later. I don't know why I say that. It's really bad.